That's me, Franny.
Hi, welcome back to motherfucking FrannyTings. So today I'm gonna be talking about the spiral moment that led me to my aha moment. That's a catchy title, right? I worked hard on it anyways. So for my first episode I did, a lot of people were asking me, like, how did I even end up being like a slight alcoholic and partying every day? Just because I'm so different now. So I definitely wanted to go deeper into that and why I became this way. How did I get out of it? What went hand in hand with the reason why I was just kind of like carefree? So let's get into it. This period. I started spiraling, like becoming this person, I guess, like I don't give a fuck about anything personality when I was around like 18 or 19. So the funny thing is that my sister, she does look a lot like me, but she's a lot older. She is turning 31 this year. So for my 18th birthday, she actually gave me her ID because she had to get it renewed and she did it through the mail. And they actually sent her two IDs by accident. So she gave me one of them and she's like, oh, happy 18th birthday. Like now you can get into like whatever club you want. So I was like, oh shit. Like I was low key like really scared to try it. So the first thing I did was like I went to like a bar with my friends. Like it wasn't even a bar. It was like a restaurant. I think it was like Chili's or like Fridays or something. I ordered a drink and when they asked me for my ID, I gave it to them and they were like, oh, okay, cool. And I was like, it worked. So I got so much confidence and I started using it everywhere. So I have a few older friends, and by older I mean like 1 year older. And they, for some reason, like didn't really get asked their ID. I guess it's the way they carry themselves. So I started going out with them a lot more because I was getting in everywhere with my sister's like freaking ID, and everyone thought I was older because when I would wear makeup, I'll just show some like titties. We all love that. So the bouncers loved it too. So I went ahead and did that, and I was going out all the fucking time because I would get away with it. But the way that I started doing that and the reason why I was going out so much, one, because low-key I was heartbroken. So I was in a long distance relationship, which I didn't even mention this in the first episode, but that affected me a lot. So I was in a long distance relationship from like 17 to 18, I think, or maybe 19. It was my first everything, my first date, my first boyfriend, my first sexual experience. I lost my virginity to him. So obviously it was like a lot for me, and we were talking for a couple of months. I would say like maybe like 3-4 months, and then we started actually dating boyfriend and girlfriend. We didn't go to the same high school. He actually was going to like college when I was going to high school. Like he was in his first semester of college and I was in high school. I was a senior, and a couple months of us talking, like obviously we really fell for each other, and since that was my first everything, I was like in love, obviously. And then he hit me with like, I'm moving away, and I'm like, excuse me. So he hit me with that, and he was moving to I think it was New Mexico with his mom, because he was living with his mom when we were first dating, and then his mom left to New Mexico because she got a job opportunity over there, and he stayed here alone. And I felt really bad because he was living by himself in an efficiency, and he was only like a year older than me. So if I was 17, he was 18. So he was 18 taking responsibilities of like a 25-year-old, like trying to pay bills, like trying to hustle. And I felt bad for him because he didn't have his papers, like he wasn't legal. So he was struggling a lot, and like my family tried to help him as much as we could. So I guess like the traumatic experience made me so like much more attached to him. I felt like I kind of had to like take care of him in a way. So I became really attached, and when he told me that he was moving away, like it really affected me because I'm like, oh my God, like everything was going so good, and like, we're so close and all this stuff, and I was like so in love, and now you're just gonna leave. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, well, like, what are we gonna do now? And he's like, I guess we'll see. And I'm like, are we still gonna be together? And like, mind you, I was little, I was 17, so I didn't really know how to speak my mind, you know. I didn't know how to express my emotions how I do now. So he left. The day that he left, I was super sad. I was like super depressed, and I was working at Skechers. That was one of my first jobs. I was working two jobs. I was working Aeropostale and Skechers. They were right in front of each other. And I was working at Skechers, and then I remember that when he landed in New Mexico, like he FaceTimed me, and then I after the FaceTime call, I just started crying because I'm like, oh my God, this isn't how it's gonna be until like who knows how long, because there was no plan. There was no like, oh, I'm gonna come back in 3 months, and like, you know, it was just like going with the flow. So he was gone for I think around like, I don't know, like 8 months, until he finally flew back. So for those 8 months, it was like on and off. It was like, I don't even know, looking back, I don't know why I even stayed, but obviously, you know, we do stupid shit when we're young. And my parents too. My parents were like, girl, like, you know, wake up. And my friends, everyone was on the same boat. But I'm like, but I'm in love. You guys don't get it. So for those 8 months, I was super depressed. I was like going through it. Again, I was very young. And for my birthday, I was in a long distance relationship. And he forgot to call me on my birthday, which is another reason why I had like such PTSD from my COVID birthday experience, because I'm like, oh my God, like here we motherfucking go. Like it's always something. But yeah, he kind of like forgot to call me on my birthday. He ended up calling me like super late at night, like 2 a.m, because his best friend convinced him to call me, because I'm like, oh my God, like he didn't fucking call me. He's like, no way, hold on. So then he had to his best friend had to convince him to call me, and then he finally did. So yeah, it was a lot. And then he came back, I would say like 8 months later, and he came back to visit. It ended up him staying for like a hot minute. So he came back to visit, and everything was great, and like, you know, it was fun and amazing. And then he stayed for like maybe 6 more months. And then like the last month that he was like deciding on whether or not to move back, it just got really bad, in the sense that like he just didn't know how to handle his responsibilities, which again, I don't blame him. Now looking at it, like, you know, he was so young and trying to handle all this like credit and like all that, not having your papers, like it is a lot. So I totally understand, but like he just wasn't ready for any of that. He needed a parental figure, and I couldn't be that person, because I drained all my energy trying to be that person, and like it left me with not knowing who I was. So things got really sticky at the end, and then we broke up. Well, I broke up with him because I'm like, sis, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, this is too much for me. I can't raise anybody. So I broke up with him, and then he stayed for like an extra 3 months, thinking we were gonna get back together. He would always like try to meet me at the park and be like, oh, so like, you know, give me another chance. And I'm like, no. And then he finally moved back he went back to Texas this time. So he lived back with his mom, and then I was pretty depressed, because it's like I had to find myself all over again. You know, I went from giving my all to somebody and like trying to nurture them, to like not knowing what to do with myself, because that was my passion. If you think about it, that was like my hobby, trying to fix someone. So then I was left with nothing. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? You know? And I was just super depressed for like a while. I didn't want to get out of bed. I always looked like shit. My pimples were really bad, which I know they're bad right now. But you know, like at this point it was really bad. I'll try to find a picture, but yeah. And then like luckily, like my friend Katia, I talked about her in my last podcast, well, 2 podcasts ago now. She is an amazing friend, and she was always there for me, and I had to like wake up, and I just had to be like, girl, like you need to find yourself. So this is when I started like taking myself out on dates and like all this stuff. But yet during this moment, it's like, yes, I was trying to give myself the love that I deserve, but at the same time like I didn't know how to really find that. So therefore I was like, let's motherfucking rage, because before I couldn't really do that since he didn't have an ID, or like he didn't have his papers. We couldn't really go out, we couldn't go to the bar, we couldn't go clubbing. So now that that wasn't stopping me, this is when, like, when I became 18 to 19, that's when I started like raging. So this was the point in my life that I was talking about in my first episode, that I was going out like a lot. I was heartbroken, and I was just like, fuck these guys. And I started using men like if they were nothing. Like oh my god, I burped, sorry. I had no remorse for men. Like I would go on dates and like I would let them pay. I didn't really care. I was going out to the clubs, letting men buy me drinks, saying it's my birthday when it's not. That was my favorite like thing. Oh my god, I'm turning 21, and I was actually like 19 in the club. So I was doing that all the time. All my money would go to like going to the bar, getting fucked up, going to space, going to, what is it called? Love or therapy. There you go. Therapy. And yeah, it was just like not it. And like I would just always be doing the same thing over and over every single weekend. It was like another bar, another club, another bar, another club. And then it got to the point that I started doing that during the week, because now we started finding out that we can get into like bars and like ale house when they had like ladies night and everything was half off, and we would get fucked up. We would go to the gym and then get fucked up after. Like, girl, what? Like, who was I? And during these times, I think I mentioned in the first episode, I wasn't thinking about my future. I was just kind of living day to day. And I would just kind of be like, well, I have enough money in my account. Yeah, let's go get fucked up, or let's go have drinks, or let's do this. And yeah, and then I would go hungover to work all the time. I would throw up at work. I would throw up before work. It was just like not it. And like it got to the point that when I was working, the clients would know when I was fucked up. Like they'll be like, oh my god, long night. And I'm like, yeah. And like I had mascara all over my under eyes. It was not cute. Like I get so embarrassed talking about it, because I'm just like, ew, girl, like who were you? So yeah, that was that phase. And then I think what made me like wake up was I just didn't like feeling that way. I was just like, I just feel so gross. And like the one moment that really stood out to me, which is like the reason why I made this episode, was I ended up in a hospital one day. And that story was, the way it started, I was working for, I'm not going to say the name because I'm going to out them, but I was working for a company. It was my job. And the boss was like, oh yeah, let's do door hangers in my apartment complex, and then we'll have margaritas like by the pool. And I'm like, oh bitch, fuck yeah, let's do it. And me and my coworker, we got there, we did the door hangers, basically like promoting and like hanging flyers on the doors for our company. And then after, he made us like margaritas with his wife. So we're by the pool, we're having a good time, we're having margaritas. I had maybe like 3 margaritas, bitch, they were super, super strong. By the end of like the day, not the end of the day, it was like in the afternoon, it was like 6 p.m. I was pretty drunk and I had to drive home. And on the drive home, like, for some reason, I thought someone crashed into me. I guess it was, I don't know what my reaction was, but I felt like a rush, like, hit me. And then I was like, oh my God, I think someone crashed into me. And like, I called Katia and I'm like, I think someone crashed into me. She's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of fucked up, not gonna lie. And I don't know if someone crashed into me. She's like, okay, but look behind you. And like, I'm there and I'm like, no one crashed into me. I guess it was just me literally stepping on the brake super hard and me being unconscious that I'm like doing that. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty fucked up. Like, maybe I shouldn't be driving. But then like, she kind of talked me through it and she stayed on the phone with me and I was just like drinking water. And then I got home. So I showered. I don't remember showering. This is how fucked up I was. I don't remember showering. I get out of the shower and I take a nap for like maybe like an hour. And this day was Katia's sister's engagement party. So I had to get ready quick, bitch. So I woke up from this nap and I'm like, damn, I'm pretty fucked up. But like, you know what? Let me just drink water. Let me eat like some bread and then let me get ready. So that's what I start doing. I start like getting ready. And this was, oh my God, sis. I'm going to put pictures here because I did not know how to do my eyebrows. Like, they look kind of good today, but this is when I thought I was like a beauty guru, and I would put so much makeup on. Like, I mean, it didn't look bad, like from here down, like I guess below my eyebrows down, but my eyebrows were like blocks. Like, I did not know how to do them. I'm going to put pictures so you guys can see what I mean. But nevertheless, I really cared about how I looked, and I wanted to like always look super glammed. I even put fake eyelashes on. I never do that shit now. So I was getting ready, and then I started sobering up. It was fine. When we get to the party, I drove there. So when we get to the party, like, they start giving us drinks. It was open bar, but luckily they had a lot of food, so I ate. And then I started drinking, the drinks that they were offering us. They had like an open bar, like I said earlier. And it got to a point that I remember that I was like just holding drinks in my hand, but I don't remember like replacing them. Like, I just remember the whole time my drink being filled, like the entire time. And then at one point of the night, like, we started taking shots, but I don't remember that. Like, I remember looking at my Snapchat the next day and seeing us taking shots. I still have them, so I'm going to put them, of us taking shots, but I don't recall. And like, after, because this is when I also was like a pothead pothead, like fake pothead. So then we started smoking, and like that's when like things went downhill, because after we smoked, I do not remember shit. And it got so bad to the point that I don't remember the drive home. Like, I do not remember getting home. I don't remember taking my makeup off. I don't remember changing. Like, I was blacked out. Driving blackout drunk. Like, that is so bad. And I had to work the next day. I got home like maybe like 3 a.m. I had to work at 8 a.m. So I woke up like around 7, and I was still like pretty drunk, but like it was doable. I go to McDonald's like every other Sunday that I would work, and I fucking get a like McGriddle. I get coffee, and I'm there like, yeah, I'm hungover, but like I'll be fine. So I'm there at my job, and I remember that like as time's going on, I'm like, yo, I feel really sick, like really, really bad. And I remember putting my head down for like maybe like 5 minutes, and when I lifted up, I'm like, I am gonna throw up. I was so pale, and I felt like I was gonna faint. Like, it was so bad. So I told my coworker, I'm like, girl, I'm leaving. Like, this one's on you. Like, close. And the thing is, it was like 30 minutes left of our shift, so it wasn't too bad. So I'm like, sis, I'm going home. Like, I cannot do this. So she's like, okay, I got you. So I'm driving, and I'm like, I can't. I'm gonna throw up. So luckily, my sister lived right next to my job, and I felt so bad because this is when my sister was pregnant with my nephew, and my nephew is now 3. But so I was pregnant 3 years ago. That's how you know. But yeah, my sister was pregnant with my nephew, and she also has a younger daughter, Dana. And like, I went to her house, and I'm like, I need to throw up. So I started throwing up, and then she had to take care of me, and I felt so bad because has a whole ass baby in her taking care of me that's hungover because of my fucking shitty decisions that I made from the night before. And she's giving me like mozzarella sticks. And the thing that I knew that I was not okay was I threw up everything that she was giving me. I threw up water. I threw up Gatorade. I threw up Pedialyte. Every little thing I was putting in my body, I was throwing up like nonstop. And I was so puffy. Like, I'll see if I have pictures, but I was so puffy. My lips, my eyes, like my whole face was huge. And then I go home, because I was over my sister trying to take care of me because I felt really bad about it. I go home, and I still felt really bad. And I'm like, dude, I think I need to go to the hospital. So I texted my parents like, sis, I think I need to go to the hospital. And they never replied to me. I'm calling them, literally calling them. They're not answering me. I'm like, I think I need to go to the hospital, and they're not answering me. So I did what I would normally do, is I hit up Katia, because I think Katia is like my second mom. And I was like, Mima, like, I feel really bad. Like, I think I need to go to the hospital. Like, can you please take me? And she like didn't even like think twice about it. She came, she picked me up. We went to the hospital, and like, it was so bad that like when we got to the hospital, I immediately ran into the bathroom. I started throwing up. I couldn't even check in. They checked me in and I'm like, listen, I'm like really sick. Like, you need to take me ASAP, because you know the ER, they'll be like, yeah, whatever. Like, and they don't fucking take you for hours. I'm like, I need to throw up. Like, I've been throwing up. You need to take me right now. So I'm there sitting for maybe like 5 minutes and they call me and I'm like, oh, thank God. So I go sit down or lay down on the bed or whatever. They start, I don't know what exactly how they started the treatment, but like the doctor comes in and she starts asking me questions. She's like, so what happened? I'm like, I'm just really hungover and nothing stays down. Like, I can't have water, I can't eat, I can't do anything. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And she's like, okay, like, how long were you drinking yesterday? Like, from what time to what time? I'm like, honestly, sis, it was like from 12 p.m. to like, I don't know, like 2 in the morning. And she's like, yeah, you're just like really, really dehydrated. And she's like, the next time you feel like this, like, you have to ease off the alcohol little by little. So she's like, you know, you were going hard, you were having tequila and all this stuff. You have to have a beer and then like decrease the alcohol percentage, because right now your body is like feeding off alcohol. Like, it needs more in order to like keep running, like kind of like a fucking drug addict. And I was like, what the fuck? And that's when I was like, oh my God, like, this is not okay. So they start giving me fluids and then my parents didn't even know. So I had to tell them that I was in the hospital. They came and they were obviously super mad at me. They were like, they had a huge speech with me. They're like, oh my God, we're gonna have to put you into rehab, because how can you be in a hospital from drinking so much? Like, what is that? And like, the thing about me is that like, I really didn't give a fuck about what anyone had to say, which I'm still like that. But like, you know, it was kind of like ugly how I was like making it seem like a joke. I was putting it on my Instagram story like, too much fun last night. Like, if it's like cool to fucking have an IV in your arm because you had too much fun last night, which now is like a trend, I think. Like, you do like IV things, like, what is it? I don't know, like, what is that called? A banana bag. Yes. So they have banana bags that you can actually pay, you know, to get your fluid right, and then that way you're not hungover anymore. But in this case, I felt like shit because I was in a hospital. It's like, why would I ever like cross that line? I would get a banana bag now, being like my age and being responsible, but those things cost money, which I'm not willing to pay. But anyways, so yeah, it was just like not cute. And they gave me a bunch of fluid and they just said like I needed a rest. So I had ice cream when I got home and my parents were really mad at me. And Katia came through once again. You know, I love her for that. But yeah, so after this day, I started questioning myself and I started questioning my morals and I started questioning like, why am I doing this? Like, what am I missing from my life that is like not like making me happy, that I feel like I need to get fucked up, you know? Which I think like it's okay to have a good time sometimes, because, you know, it is what it is and we're only human. But it was to the point that I was doing it so much and I just felt like I was distracting myself from the reality of the situation, which is like why I was sad and why I was depressed and why I felt like no one understood what I was going through. And I kind of had to face those demons like on my own. And then I just came to terms that like I don't love myself. Like, if I did love myself, I wouldn't be like kind of like poisoning my body in this way. If I love myself, I wouldn't be doing this, like going out every single weekend. I know we're young and I understand that, but I felt like I have more. Like, I had more to give in life and I know that I was destined to be more. So like, this is just holding me back, you know? And then I switched jobs because I didn't like working there. Then that environment I was in was not 100% like good. So I switched my job to Massage Envy, and there I was very happy. I was still getting lit. I was still getting fucked up every now and then, but I definitely became more disciplined with myself. I was starting to understand that, you know, I'm an adult and I have responsibilities. This is when I was like 20, like 19, 20. You know, and then I just understood that like this life is not made for me. And then that's when I kind of decided to start my self-love journey and like my real self-love journey, because before I thought I was achieving it and it wasn't. It was just like distractions, you know. So I started like really thinking about what I wanted. And this is when I started going back to school for film. So that I talk about all in my first episode. I started going back to school, understanding what I wanted in life. And obviously it's still a journey now because I'm still figuring myself out, but I feel like right now I've achieved a point that I have so much self-love, and I love the relationship with myself. I'm able to talk to myself the way that I never was talked to as a child, and it feels so good that I can point out why I feel certain things. Where is it rooted in, why I see things the way I do. And it's so good to have that relationship with myself, to the point that like whoever comes in my life next, romantically, for a relationship, they have to match that energy that I give myself, and they have to be willing to put in the work that I put in for myself, for themselves, for their selves. So, I'm putting in the work for me every single day, and I'm trying to be as self-disciplined as I can, and I would love for someone to do that for themselves. And whatever relationship I'm getting into next has to add on to my life, and it cannot take away, because I've noticed that a lot of relationships I get into, I attract people that need a lot of self-love, and they try to find it through their partners or other exterior factors, that it's like, you have to look within yourself. And a lot of people are scared to do that because they have to start, kind of like the analogy I said, they have to look at their receipt and they have to start paying it off. And a lot of people are scared about that. So my next relationship, I know exactly what I want. I literally have it in my notes. I know exactly the type of person I am looking for. And that all started with that aha moment, that journey of, okay, I need to find myself. What do I really want? Because at the end of the day, and I know this might sound selfish, but all we have is ourselves. And I'm not saying that doesn't mean like I don't love my family, I don't love my friends, because yes, I do love them and I do need them. But really, at the end of the day, we have ourselves. We go to bed with ourselves. We wake up with ourselves. So, we have to create that relationship, on our own, and it does sound kind of fucked up, but you can't find happiness within other people. You have to find it with yourself and the hobbies that you do. And that's another thing that helped me, was figuring out different hobbies that I loved. And that's what also helped me with deciding what I wanted to do, I guess, for my career. Like, I feel like I'm passionate, so I'm always kind of like switching it up. But I feel like understanding my hobbies was so important. Like, I would take dance classes, which I'm taking one today, and I think trying new things, which is something that I was literally talking about with Frankie, which she's in the room. So I just think it's important to have hobbies. And the reason why is because the older we get, we start to realize, or we start to get comfortable with our everyday routine, and we forget that, we have the option of learning something new. And learning something new leads to, you become uncomfortable learning new things, because we get into this routine of repeating the same cycle every day. So I think in life, the more hobbies you have and the more things you're learning every single day, you become comfortable being uncomfortable, which is a huge thing. Because I think that when you start becoming comfortable being uncomfortable, your body, instead of thinking it's anxiety or nervousness, it starts to replace that emotion with excitement. Like, oh, I'm so excited to try this new offer, or try this new job, or try this new, I don't even know, like a sushi roll. Everything in life is literally about just exploring new options. Like, how many people go to a restaurant and get the same thing every single time because they're scared of trying something new and wasting that money on another thing, which I totally get, because bitch, me too. Like, bitch, me too. I'm kind of the same way. But it's okay to go out of your boundaries or go out of that comfort zone to just try new things, because we only live once, and death is so, never know when it's coming. You never know. So might as well just become comfortable being uncomfortable. What helped me a lot with my self journey was always before, when I was dependent on, I guess, fixing my partner at the time, I became dependent on waiting for people to do things. So I would always wait for him to try a restaurant I wanted to try. I would wait for my friends. I would wait for my family. I would always wait to do things. And what I learned is that you can't wait on anyone. Like, you just have to do it. If you really want to try a restaurant, if you really want to try that new hobby, if you really want to try surfing one day, it's like, yes, of course, like, it's better with someone else, like maybe you can hit them up and be like, hey, this is something I want to try. But for any reason they're not available, don't wait. Just do it. Like literally just go out and do it. And you start to build such a beautiful relationship with yourself, which I'm so happy that I've been able to build that to the point that it's like now I'm like, okay, I love myself to the point that I'm like, yes, I can take myself out on dates, but it's time, bitch. Like it's time that I can like enjoy the company of other people. Don't get me wrong, bitch. I'm still like loving my own time and I love my own energy and like I love to have me days. But sometimes I'm like, okay, like I want to experience this with someone else, which usually like my friends are always down and shit. But yeah, I just think self-love is super important. And that's the moment that really made me realize I have to do better for myself. And self-discipline and self-love isn't always happy. It isn't always fun. It's not always about just eating ice cream and watching a sad movie or putting a face mask. It's really about self-discipline. If you want to have a better body, bitch, you got to wake up and you have to wake up at 5 a.m. Do it. And self-discipline, self-love, because you deserve that for yourself. If you want, I don't know, let's say if you're on a diet and you see a pizza versus a salad and then you keep indulging in the pizza, you're not loving yourself because you're not self-disciplining yourself. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because, bitch, I'm not the healthiest either. When I am able to stick to a plan and I'm able to stick to a routine of self-discipline, maybe going vegan for a week or being pescatarian or, just proving myself that I can do it, that's when I know that I'm like, okay, I love myself because I'm doing this for me and nobody else. And no one can tell me that I can't because I know I can. So that's really important. And I think that's the main thing that led me to why I am the way I am today. I just learned that, in life, you just got to go for it. And you have to love yourself and you can't be waiting on anyone. You can't fix anyone. That's still something I'm learning because I love, I guess I love just seeing people become the best versions of themselves. And if I know that they can be better, like I'll like try to convince them that like, yes, like do X, Y, and Z to be better. But, you can't do that. You can't force something, to someone when they don't see the change themselves. So that's something I'm working on, but I'm trying to put that energy into myself the same way that I would do it for anyone else. Sis, I have to do it for me too. So yeah, it was my aha moment that led me to where I am today. So I decided to do a little segment this episode, and it's going to be called Ask Me Tings. So I went ahead and posted a story where you guys can ask me anything. So I'm going to go ahead and answer some of the questions you guys asked me. Hopefully I get quite a few because I literally did it super last minute, but we'll see. So here we go. Okay, I have my questions here. So I'm gonna answer 4 questions because I think they're the juiciest ones / like the ones that you get to know me the most. So the first one is, how do you stay consistent? It's the hardest thing even when I have content to post. And she is Delise Pino. So Delise, how do I stay consistent? So honestly, that's very hard for me because I tend to be multi-passionate and I tend to have so many ideas at once, and then I tend to stick to something for maybe like, depending on how passionate I am, like 2-3 months, and then I'll fall off and I'll be like, oh, like, okay, on to the next idea, which I think there's nothing wrong with, depending on like what you're trying to do. But for me, the way that I can stay consistent is, one, being organized, because I feel like that's why I've been so consistent with my podcast. I always plan it and I always make sure that it's a priority for me. And you have to make sure you're the reason why you're doing this. For me, the reason I am doing my podcast is because I want to get my message out there. And it's kind of like the simplest way I can get my message out there, making the time 2 hours recording this and then maybe 1 to 2 hours editing. That's perfect for me. So you have to kind of find a happy medium of what you prioritize, what is your why, and yeah, how it can benefit you. And I think being organized is everything. I have like 4 planners, like a big calendar in my room. I have another calendar on me always. I put reminders on my phone. And also not overwhelming yourself with so many different things at once, because then what happens is that you start shifting your priority all over the place. So you definitely have to stick to your priority list. What comes first? And then breaking that down to your hours. So let's say you have this one project that you're really focused on. You can put an alarm for maybe like 3 hours, and that's all you're going to focus on for 3 hours. Then you put another alarm for maybe like 10 minutes, you take a break, you move on to the next thing for 2 hours, and then, you know, that's how it would work. That I have personally used, like recommended from my therapist, and it is so good. So highly recommend that. And just keep it up and don't overthink it. Again, if you're passionate about it, you will find a way to make it happen, period. Let's move on to the next question. So the next one is from Frankie Gems. She's in the room right now. This bitch asked me like 101 fucking questions. But I'm gonna answer one of them because I really, really like this one. So it's, what's your type? Are you looking for a boo? So to answer that, I feel like I have a type, but I don't. So physically, I do have a type. I like them darker, you know, like coffee color. I also like a lot of tattoos. I'm a huge sucker for like tattoos, you know. So that's just like exterior, you know. It doesn't have to be like this, but interior is where I'm like picky. So I definitely want someone who is working on themselves, like I said earlier. Like what turns me on is if a guy says like, oh, I can't, like I have to work out at 5 a.m. or fuck, I can't, I have a therapy session. I'm like, you have a therapy session? Tell me more. What traumas have you discovered? Like that is my type. Like someone who can emotionally be aware and intelligent is so attractive to me. Someone who is passionate and have aspirations and goals and is actively working towards them is like so good, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're hustling for yourself and you're making yourself a priority, I know for a fact that if you really fuck with me and I really fuck with you, you will make me a priority because you are understanding of that lifestyle, because you're already doing it in all elements, in all different ways. So that is definitely my type. Am I looking for a boo? So I would say yes and no. And the reason why is because actively I'm not looking for it. But if it does come my way, I'm not going to deny it. I feel like I am ready to be emotionally available to someone, but only if I feel it is worth it. Because honestly, the people I've been dating, I feel like haven't been. Sorry for if you're listening to this. But you know, I'm just being honest, and they definitely have to be worth my time. So, and I'm super open to getting to know people. I go on dates all the time, so I'm not against that. It just, like I said, they have to be worth it, and I have to know that I really like you, bitch. So moving on, I also don't have a Valentine's Day date. So if you're like trying to take me out, I bought this really cute dress, so let me know. Okay, next question. Okay, so the next question is from Sammy Roberto. He asked me, when did you start skating? So if you guys know me, and like I said, hobbies are very important to me. I decided to pick up skating as a hobby back in like September. I was in quarantine, as you know, if you saw my podcast. I was in quarantine for like a month, and during my quarantine, all I would do is watch TikToks of skating videos of girls like grooving with their little quads. And I'm like, I want to do that, and I'm going to get that good, bitch. Like, I will do it. So I bought me a pair of Impala skates in like September when they restocked, because they were out of stock for like ever. And then, yeah, I started skating, and the first thing I learned was how to go backwards. And I've improved so much, bitch. Like, I'll put little videos here, and I know how to spin now, bitch. I know how to skate backwards. Not a pro at skating backwards yet, but I'm getting there. I know how to jump on skates. I know how to do a lot. Like, I'm super proud of myself. I've been keeping up with it, like being super consistent. And the person who asked me this, Sammy, he's like my accountability buddy when it comes to skating. We're actually going skating tomorrow, so that's fun, you know. So yeah, I started skating in September, and I don't think I'm gonna give it up until I'm like a fucking pro bitch, because you know, like I said, I'm in competition with myself, and it's self-discipline, bitch, period, even with my hobbies. Moving on. I'm out of moisture in my mouth. Feel like I'm swallowing my saliva so much. Hold on. And that's how it sounds like when I swallow, just so you guys know. So the next question is from Johnny Say Word. So he asked me, who was your inspiration to make music? So I know what you guys are thinking, this bitch makes music, what? So I don't actually make music, but I do want to start learning how to make music. When I'm bored at work, I go on GarageBand and I'll make like little beats, like, and I want to learn how to drum. So I'm very musically inclined, I would say, and I play piano and stuff. So I'm definitely ready to learn how to produce music. So Johnny, my answer to that would be Tyler the Creator. Also, I love Jaden Smith's production. I know he doesn't like produce it himself, but yeah. Tyler the Creator is definitely one of my biggest inspirations to create music. Also, Kid Cudi. Love how he makes music. His production is always fire. Also, Travis Scott. It's crazy how he started off as a producer and then ended up like becoming a rapper. I feel like it's easier for producers to become rappers or artists because they already understand their beat and they understand their style so much, to the point that if they just hop on a track, it's just so simple for them. That might be wrong, but that's how I view it. So definitely those three people would be my inspiration for making music. Also, Lin-Manuel, bitch. Hamilton. Yo, he snapped. Oh, so good. Low key, though, the more I watch it, I've seen it a bunch of times. I hear the soundtrack almost every other day. I feel like he sucks. Like, his singing voice is not good at all. But, you know, we have to give him credit because he wrote the whole thing. He produced most of it. So, shout out to him. So, yeah, those people are, I think, my inspiration when it comes to making music. If you're a producer and want to help me make music, please let me know, because my friends that are producers, shout out Kos and Eric, they're busy. They're on their way to fucking fame, and they're making whole ass albums now. So, you know, I have created a few songs with them. Tangerine, if you haven't heard it, on SoundCloud, I got you with the link, bitch, period. Tangerine girl. Look, I'm gonna play a little sample. I'm being dead ass. I'm gonna play it because no one's gonna fucking know what I'm talking about. It's really good. Like, you guys think I'm lying. I could sing. Bitch, I could sing. Hold on. That's me. Anyways, yes, that is me being a pop star for 20 seconds. Thank you so much for listening. Shout out to Coast that actually produced that, and Kim. She was the star of that. She literally just came up with the line, orange on your titty, so I call her Orange Girl, and then we based the whole track off of that one line. She snapped. Anyways, thank you guys so much for asking me things. I hope I answered them the way that you would have liked, or got to know me a little bit better. That's the whole purpose of this segment. I had an idea for another segment, which is like realization of the week, which more has to do with in-depth of like moments that I had, like little epiphanies, whatever they might be. Sometimes my epiphanies are really stupid, like how did streetlights happen, which is so stupid. sometimes, but sometimes I have really big epiphanies. So yeah, let me know if that's something you want to hear. I mean, I think it's kind of funny. So thanks so much for listening, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next FrannyTings. I love you, and thank you so much for the support. XOXO. That's for my boo. Bye.